Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room with still more Prokofiev, stuff you probably didn't even know existed. Like this, for example. Vernon Handley in the Royal Phil doing Lieutenant Kijé and the Fifth Symphony. Vernon Handley, he was famous for doing all the British stuff, which he did very well, extremely well. This, not so well. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's just average. Lieutenant Kijé is okay. It's unkillable, but there are better ones by like Ormandy and Abado on DG with Chicago and oh yes, all kinds of other people like that. Zell did it. As for the Fifth Symphony, it just is flat. It's okay. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not worth it. It's a disappointment from Handley. I thought he'd really go for it. I really did, since it was outside of his fach. Sometimes it's exciting hearing people do things that are not usually in their wheelhouse because they can either bring interesting insights or be extra exciting or try extra hard. Well, it seems none of that happened there. Then we've got, let's see, this thing on Paranoia. Deutsche Grammophon, the Panorama series, which we call Paranoia for various reasons. Let's see, we got the Classical Symphony with the Chamber Orchestra of Europe and Abado. It's quite good. Violin Concerto No. 1 with Shlomo Mintz and Abado. That was quite good. Romeo and Juliet Suites 1 and 2, only excerpts with Rostropovich and National Orchestra of D.C. They should have given us all of it. There's no reason to do excerpts. Nevsky, excerpt with Abado. Ugh. Why? Prokofiev Piano Concerto No. 3 with Argerich and Abado. Great. Bits of Vision Fugitive with Richter, excerpts, 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Come on, if you're going to do Prokofiev with Richter, you do a wartime sonata. Do something that really shows him going for Prokofiev. But of course, that was not part of Panorama. So most of us, when these came out, trashed it, and the people responsible for it had a nervous breakdown, and that's why we started calling it Paranoia. Symphony No. 5, Cleveland Orchestra and Mazel. Pretty good. Some weird tempo choices, but it's very well played, and that's okay. Then we've got, the Fifth with the Berlin Phil and Karajan. Oh, classic, fabulous, amazing. This is what happens when someone does something outside of their fach, but really goes for it. It sounds like no other version of the Fifth. You've got the loudest tam-tam in the world, which is a shock, because usually you don't hear any percussion from Karajan in Berlin. And they just go totally crazy. But there's also very little bass. For some reason, the recording is lacking in bass, but the strings are so powerful. They make up for it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And you've got Karajan doing The Rite of Spring. Oh, horrible, awful, slow, boring, stupid. Talk about missing percussion. Oh, yay, it's a mess. Martinon doing Prokofiev, Symphonies 5 and 7 with the Paris Conservatory Orchestra. On Testament, nothing to write home about, I'm sorry to say. I thought Martinon did a complete Prokofiev cycle on Vox, which was also nothing special. And in all cases, it was for the same reason. The orchestras just weren't good. They weren't good enough to pull it off. I mean, Martinon's wonderful, and he tries, but the mind is willing, but the flesh was weak. That's just the way it went. Then we've got this terrific set. This is piano concertos and the overture on Jewish tunes or Jewish themes, and the Vision Fugitive complete finally, instead of just like half of one, with Michel Beroff and the Gewandhaus Orchestra, Court Mazur. Really one of the classic Prokofiev cycles. It's first rate. It's wonderfully done, and the Gewandhaus and Mazur are really on top of it. So that's exciting and unusual because they just weren't doing it so much then. What I mean is that piano concerto cycles were rare, and having them coming from the Gewandhaus was even rarer. And Mazur was never anyone's most exciting conductor, really galvanized himself for certain things, for this, for the Liszt tone poems. Yeah, definitely worth hearing. Then we've got the wonderful opera Semyon Kotko, opera in 5 acts, libretto by Prokofiev and Valentin Katayev with the Mravinsky-Gergiev people. Is this a great opera? Probably not. I'm not actually even sure what the hell happens in it. Do we want to know? It's probably very socialist realist. I remember it. I listened to it. I heard it a couple times. I enjoyed it while it was going, and then I never felt like listening to it again. So let's see what happens. Oh, we got German soldiers. Okay, right. The opera is set in a Ukrainian village in 1918. The revolutionary Bolshevik government in Moscow has made peace with Germany, but much of Ukraine is still under German occupation. The Red Army is advancing, supported by scattered revolutionary partisan units. They are opposed by the Germans and Haidamaks, members of a cavalry detachment loyal to the reactionary Ukrainian nationalists. Okay, that's about all we need to hear about that, isn't it? Oh dear. Yeah, okay. What's this? Peter and the Wolf, Carnival of the Animals with Karl Bohm and the Kontarsky brothers. This is the Japanese DG edition. And it's so much fun. It really is. Or the Vienna Phil. Is it a little bit stiff? And soupçon of stiffitude? Who cares? It's as much of a good time as Karl Bohm ever let himself have. And the Kontarsky brothers are fine. Then we've got these three fabulous Superphone discs with Ancerl, the Ancerl Gold Edition. You've got the Classical Symphony and the first piano concerto with Richter, which is fabulous, and the second piano concerto with Dagmar Balagova, and she's wonderful in the second concerto. It's a lyrical performance, not crazy virtuosic, but she's got it all down, and Ancerl is such a fine accompanist. As usual with Ancerl, he just brings more out of the music than you ever thought possible. The Romeo and Juliet and Peter and the Wolf disc, which is insane, absolutely spectacular. I've got several of these sitting around, of course, because the Romeo and Juliet music is so intense and passionate, and you just have to hear it. And finally, Nevsky, yes, and the cello thing in E minor with Andrei Navarra, cello, the Cello Symphony Concerto. Much more exciting than Yo-Yo Ma and Lauren Moselle. This is great Prokofiev. It's all terrific. It really is, and wonderful to hear. So that's vintage stuff. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.